I saw some of your what I see that you posted the Patriots, or the Steelers. They had their one biggest. They got rid of all their problems, but their one biggest problem they didn't get rid of was the Patriots. That picture was marvelous, tremendous.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, the man that you're listening to is a three-time Super Bowl champion, an entrepreneur, an incredible broadcaster. He's got his own podcast. He's live on the radio, and he called the Cardinals-Lions tie ball game this past weekend, I believe. Was that your voice?
Yes, that was my voice, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen him on a couple of soap operas. He's been on Ballers, and I can't wait to hear his brain spew all over the waves right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Schlereth. Attaboy, Mark.
Yes, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
I really do enjoy your brain. You're an old school guy, but you have a way with words that you can explain things. I was intrigued about speaking with you today about the Antonio Brown situation, just because I think you probably have an incredible take on it. Was he a complete mastermind that got his way out of Pittsburgh over to Oakland strictly so he could get to the Patriots without the Patriots having to go through the Steelers?
Exactly. You know what? I think about this guy because I was, I'm one of those guys that looks at it like, okay, what a turd, right? That's my first inclination. But I'm like, maybe you're just smarter than the rest of us because you got yourself out of a situation you didn't want to be in. You basically did that through orchestrating that through your own social media and hired social media consultants to get that done, which is crazy to me. And then I saw something on Twitter last night that made me laugh out loud. It was, think about it, he's perfect fit and Patriot. They both take people illegally. I mean, this guy is brilliant to me. He's done such an unbelievable job.
Sounds like there's a little bias against the Patriots there from Mark Schlereth and the rest of America. I thought about that last night watching that game. Antonio Brown got himself out of the situation in Pittsburgh. It was all going great. Best wide receiver in the league, paid him, good kickoff returner, good punt returner. And then Ben spoke out against him publicly, and everything turned. A lot of people say, well, the Vontae's perfect hit is when he changed. I think what happens is when you have that big of a chip on your shoulder, whenever you say, you know what, fuck him, I'm done with him, that's forever. And I think he got like that with Roethlisberger, and there was no way coming back from it. He's like, okay, I got to get out of here. So he gets himself out of that situation. It's a massive ordeal, a massive scene. He gets over to Oakland. And I said this last week on the show. I honestly believe he was going to go all in with the Raiders. I think he was like excited to be there. Here we go. We got a whole new start. Something happened over there where he was like, this ain't it. And he was like, I got to get out of here. Him hiring a social media consultant and a YouTube editor to get out of that situation is one of the most historically legendary things in professional football history, I'd assume. But when he gets to the Patriots, Tom Brady and Giselle are basically adopting Antonio Brown. He's living in their house. The Patriots last night looked unstoppable. We don't know if the Steelers secondary just decided to take the whole game off and say, you know what, fuck it. Let Tom do whatever he wants. But that Patriots team, if Antonio Brown can buy into the TB12 treatment in the Patriot way, somehow they're only going to get better and better through this whole thing. Antonio Brown might be the perfect fit, not only for the taping of opponents thing, but for everything else.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about this is this is like the band U2, with or without you. Hey, the Patriots are going to be good with you or without you. We're going to win a championship. So do you want to be a part of the championship or do you not want to be a part of the championship? One thing that I think is interesting is Tom Brady has always allowed himself to be coached hard. He's given permission for the organization to get after him. So if you can get after Tom Brady, you're going to get after anybody. This is the most disciplined team in football. Defensively, offensively, special teams, their execution is above anybody else in the league. And so you come into a situation going that you know what you're into. You either toe the company line or you don't. The beauty of the New England Patriots, think about this offensively, it's not about what we do. Right? We don't have a system. Our system is not having a system. It's about what you don't do. We don't play to our strengths. We play to your weaknesses. We attack your weaknesses. And there's going to be a point in time in the season where our running backs are going to rush for 240 yards and you're going to get 3 targets. And if you're not good with that, guess what? We won't dress you because we don't need you. This is the first time in his career where he's not needed. So maybe just that fact alone helps it work out for Antonio Brown. I don't know. because I've always felt like he's a guy that, hey, he doesn't care about winning or losing. As long as he gets his 11 targets, he's fine, right? But this may be the one time where he sees himself with an opportunity to win a championship on a one-year deal, and then he can go out and do whatever he wants after that. But I don't know. This may be the perfect match.
The thought of him having to sit back and watch the offense just completely compete without him even touching the ball. It's funny to think about how that's all going to go. Because if somebody was to yell at Antonio Brown in the past, if he felt jaded, he was going to lash out irrationally. Mm-hmm. That's what he was going to do. He was going to lash out irrationally. Now he is going to have to fully commit. I'll be excited to see if he does it. Let's move forward. Tom Brady, by the way, he's only getting better somehow, Mark. He's only getting better right now.
By the way, like, how ridiculously handsome is he?
Oh.
Like, dude, I just, every time I see him, I want to nestle up in that cleft in his chin, just like a hammock, just take a nap in there. Just let me get in there for a minute.
How about the eye black, too, that he puts on, like, perfectly every day? It's like a movie character. He's like a movie character.
He is. It's ridiculous. The guy is just. I've got a restraining order. He has a restraining order. I guess I should say against me because I just am. I really have an unhealthy obsession with the guy. I do.
Well, Tom Brady. To your point, Vinatieri told me that there's been team meetings where Tom got after a win, where Tom got chewed out by Belichick in front of the entire team. And I think that goes a long way in showing that anybody could get it, and hopefully Antonio Brown can handle it. Let's move forward.
Yeah. One last thing on that. Yeah. I came to a realization. So I've done some consulting. I consulted for the Saints this offseason, and I came to the realization the reason Jimmy Garoppolo is not there is they probably had some type of handsome off, and Jimmy Garoppolo came close to beating Tom Brady in the handsome off, and he just had him excommunicated. And I thought to myself, you know what? I probably could not coach for the New England Patriots. I'm too handsome. Tom Brady would run me off. I'd get there, I'd be there for like 3 weeks, and I'd get sent away. I'm like, what happened? I was doing a hell of a job coaching. Yeah. You threatened Tom Brady in the handsome off. He had you excommunicated from the organization. He had his dad, Robert Kraft, send you out of town.
Julian Edelman has had quite a glow up since going up there. Dating a couple models, got that big beard in there. But you're right, Jimmy.
Right. Well, he's got to grow the beard because he's a handsome guy. Like, look at Danny Amendola's gone, right? Danny Amendola's a handsome guy. Get the hell out of here. Either grow a beard or get the hell out, right? So he just basically said, hey, Julian, you want to hang around? You're a good-looking guy. Grow an ugly beard or you're gone. Boom. Out.
Tom Brady's only weakness is that he has a sense of gets a
his
little
kryptonite is handsome dudes. Like, he doesn't want any of them around him. You want to look really good? Hang around ugly people. That's easy in the NFL. There's tons of ugly guys on NFL teams. Tons of them.
Oh, Mark. That is classic. Antonio Brown, handsome guy. Call God. Got the big smile. Can't wait to see what.
Yeah, he's already meets one of the criteria. He's got that messed up haircut. Like you know, a guy doesn't care. Look at that hair. Come on, he doesn't care about nothing. That guy. Literally
nothing. The recorded conversation with Gruden immediately being flipped into a YouTube video. Is just the greatest lack of fucks to ever be given.
Right. Yeah. I mean, how do you do it? You've had that pre-produced. You're like, all we need is Gruden to call. That's all we need. He may have that. For all I know, it was Frank Caliendo. He goes, screw it. We can't get Gruden on the phone. Get Frank on the phone. Have to say this. Boom. We're done. Like, I'm out of here.
I'll tell you what, man. That's what Caliendo said.
Yeah.
Right, let's move outside there. Patriots are going to be unbelievable. You got a chance to call a tie yesterday. A freaking tie. We can talk about Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury turning it on late. AQ Shipley, starting center captain, leading the way there. Got a solo shot on national TV of him celebrating, yelling with his tats all over him from Moon Township, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We can talk about the Lions being up 17 and letting it all happen and go to overtime. And we'll get your thoughts on the game. I pitched this earlier as my overtime fix so that there are no ties, because ties aren't supposed to be in our game, Mark. Here's my pitch. Tell me why I'm wrong. Okay?
Okay.
On one end of the field, Detroit Lions offense, Matty Stafford, taking on the Arizona Cardinals defense in two-point play. On the other side, you got Kyler Murray in the offense taking on the Detroit Lions defense on the two-point play. Back and forth, shootout style. Mike Florio pitched this. Back and forth, shootout style. If they make it in, they don't, it's over. They make it in, we go to another round. If it is tied after 5 rounds, bring the kickers out, spotlight, big intro like it's wrestling, music, smoke coming from their feet. They get out there and they have to kick from the same spot with both teams as a gallery like in golf. Okay? If they both make it, you back up 5 yards. They both make it, you back up 5 more yards. Until one of them miss, one of them make. That's a win. Count it just as much as a win in regulation. Let's get this place electric. Couldn't even fathom the gambling that you could do on that now that gambling's getting legal. Why am I wrong?
I don't know that you're wrong. I mean, the tie just felt like so anticlimactic. You know, I get the hey, if you want to do the way that it's done right now, I kind of like the 2-point plays. Go 2-point. You know, it's almost like a hockey shootout, right?
Yes,
kind of like that. But only you would bring into the kickers. We need the punters in there involved as well. How are we going to get the punters? Because I saw the breakdown of the punt that won the game, and it was tremendous, right? I saw the breakdown.
Did you feel like you learned something about punting there?
I did. You know what? I was at the University of Idaho. This is no lie. And one of our punters, we used to call him the best practice punter in the nation. This guy could just root a ball in practice, 70 yards every freaking time. He couldn't punt worth a shit when it came down to game time, right? So we have this punt off, and our coaches, it was Dennis Erickson, goes, anybody here can punt? I'm an offensive lineman. I go, oh, yeah, I can punt. So I went mano a mano. I ended up losing. I went mano a mano, but I was almost the punter for the University of Idaho at one point. How about that?
Hey, was that punt off absolutely electric, I bet?
It was one of the most electric points of my career. Of course, I never caught a pass. I never ran the ball. So the punt off for me was like, that was the number one thing I think I've ever done. It was the only time anybody actually watched me, right? And like that something was announced where they weren't dog cussing me because I got a holding call, right? Holding 69 or something. It was the only time that they were actually applauding me for doing something on the football field.
Don't you think that's interesting, though? Because you're out there 60, 70 plays a game. Punter's out there 5-6 times maybe. If he's holding, probably 8-9 times.
Uh-huh.
But whenever the punter or kicker is out there, it is literally all eyes on you. Doesn't even matter about the snapper. Snapper isn't even being talked about. He's a pretty vital part of the whole thing. Holder, don't mess it up. But the kicker, everybody can watch and see if he succeeds or not. For an offensive lineman, it's such a task of the group that you don't really get singled out until team meetings where you got a big-ass laser pointer on you just circling
right.
every single move. It's kind of an interesting thing that the offensive line doesn't really get talked about until something terrible happens or there's a penalty. There's no real positiveness until the team meeting the next day.
Right. No, I've always said that this is the difference between offensive lineman and defensive lineman. Like, I could whip your ass 65 plays in a row, right? Yep. 3rd down and 12, critical moment of the game, I get a holding call or I give up a sack, and I'm the schlub who gave up the sack. And you know what you get to do? You get to go to the Pro Bowl. Like, defensive linemen don't even think about the game. Like, offensive linemen are completely motivated out of fear and paranoia. Nothing good can happen during a football game. There is nothing. If you're making the call, it is absolute shit. So you just want to live in anonymity. Nothing good can happen for you. Defensive linemen, I play with guys that get their ass whipped in a game and come in the locker room the next day because they got one freaking charity sack and act like they won the game. Like they're completely oblivious to the real game going on. And I'm like, dude, you got one garbage sack and you're prancing around like you did something last night. They couldn't wash your jersey. There were so many grass stains on the back of your jersey. They had to ship it out and get a new one. And yet you're celebrating the locker room like you did something. Defensive linemen, they don't even live in reality. I can't stand them. You know the funniest thing? Think about the funniest thing about a defensive lineman. You can have a quarterback get tripped, right? You want to see a defense. You want to see just 4 guys fighting. A quarterback gets tripped up by the offensive guard and he falls on the ground. You watch the speed those guys are jumping over the piles so you can tag him first because that's a sack, right? They're just diving over piles like I mean, they're fighting each other to dive over a damn pile to get that garbage sack. That's defensive lineman for you. Can't stand those sons of bitches.
I'll tell you this right now. That was offensive lineman porn right there, what you just did. There's going to be so many offensive linemen that are like, thank God Stink said it. I mean, we've been thinking it this whole time. You got to respect their hustle, though, man. They get one sack a game. They get beat 99% of the game. They're going to the Pro Bowl, Hall of Fame, everything for the rest of their life.
Yeah. That's it. That's just the way it is. That's why it's unfair.
Well, you obviously did an incredible job at the offensive line position. 3 Super Bowls. You played forever, a couple different teams. How do you feel the new game of football is? Because, listen, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens were supposed to be a ground and pound offense, and instead he was throwing balls on the dime, but it does feel as if there might be a shift back towards power football. Potentially, because teams are getting set up for speed right now. There's always like a cycle. Do you see that happening, or do you see the game opening up even more in the next couple of years?
Well, it's interesting because if you continue to open it up, the one thing you have to do is you have to protect the guy that you're paying $100 million to. And one of the ways you can protect that guy is by playing a little smash mouth, is by slowing those defensive linemen down, making them respect the play action game and all that stuff. So it's part of it. I think one of the interesting things, the way the league is constructed right now, is so many of these college teams they air it out. It's all spread, it's all air raid. They're not developing a skill set for most of these offensive linemen. And as I travel around the league calling games, one thing that most general managers, will talk to me about is, what would you do in order to teach like our offensive linemen how to play? Because I've been told by multiple general managers, you think it's tough to coach up the quarterbacks in this league. The offensive line, that's been the biggest disappointment. It's the thinnest. There's a dearth of guys who can play that position because they're not being developed in college. And so it's an epidemic. And then you get into the NFL and you don't get to practice. You don't get to have pads on. You don't get to do the things that's required. I mean, there's no greater skill in the NFL than moving a man from point A to point B against his will. 2 guys that, are incredibly strong, that are all 300 pounds, that's a skill. And it starts from your footwork, and it starts from, driving through your feet and to your knees, to your hips, through your hands. And if you can't do it, which most guys can't, you're in trouble, especially against the superior athletes. I look at it like this, everybody's a gifted athlete. Offensive linemen are gifted athletes. But of the athletes that are on a football field, we're by far the last rung on the ladder. I mean, Pat, think about this. I have seen a cornerback move to safety. I've seen a safety move to linebacker. I've seen a linebacker, move to defensive end. I've seen a defensive end move to defensive tackle. I've seen a defensive tackle move to offensive line. Offensive line is the last rung on the ladder. You go from offensive line, you go to fan. That's it. There's no, you don't go anywhere else. Like you don't go, hey, I was playing guard, but I think what I'm going to do is lose 12 pounds and go to linebacker. That doesn't happen. You can't do that. You go O-line fan. That's it. You're sitting in the stands. You're fat. That's the way it works.
Hey, Mark, that was incredible. I just want to let you know that was absolutely incredible what you just did there. Do you think this is potentially, and I'm setting you up to be an old man yelling in your front yard here.
Yeah.
Do you think the younger mindset and generation of the offensive line is not a glorious position? It is a position where you have to sacrifice all the hype for somebody else to be better. You have to go to hand-to-hand combat and grit and everything like that. It doesn't lend itself to a guy like me or a lot of people that are kind of growing up now because everything's coming a lot easier via technology and all that stuff. Do you think it's going to be a problem going forward because of the mindset of future generation?
I don't think so, because again, if you really have a desire to play in the NFL, I mean, there's this kind of Peter principle aspect to your athleticism. We're all touched by the hand of God athletically, right? I mean, you don't play in the NFL unless you have been touched by the hand of God. You've been, gifted as a great athlete. And then the other thing is you also have to be, you also have to have a little bit of a loose screw. So you got to be a little crazy and exceptionally athletic, but you rise to the level of your incompetence, kind of the Peter principle aspect. And, there comes a time when you come to a realization that the only way you're going to keep that dream alive is by putting your hand in the dirt. You're like, I'm kind of looking at my skill set. And yeah, I was really good in high school and I played both ways. And then as college came along, I started on the defense side of the ball and then I moved to the opposite side of the ball. And at some point, you're just like, well, here's where I'm at. Like, if I want to make this dream a reality, this is the position I have to play. So I still think there's enough of those guys that love that camaraderie. I always say the greatest thing about playing offensive line was being in that offensive line meeting room Monday after a game where guys are fighting to take responsibility for mistakes that were made. And it's five guys from different areas of the country that all have to kind of become one unit. And it's a special room by a bunch of like just incredible people. So I just have a great affinity for it, obviously, and I just don't think that's going to change. I think there's going to still be people that want to play that position, mostly because they were forced to play that position because they're kind of the fat kid, mostly.
Hey, that was an incredible breakdown right there. You just spit. Hey, speaking of hands of God, you spit some gospel there, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, we're on in Italy, by the way, so the Pope might be watching. So I appreciate that God plug. You're helping us out over there. You really. What'd you do with the Saints? You said you consulted with the Saints. Are you talking about pass interference penalties, or what was going on now?
No, they brought me in to talk about. I think one of the things that's tough about coaching the NFL right now is nuance. You don't get a practice very often. You don't get a practice in pads very often. And so what's been lost is nuance. So they brought me in and we went through their entire offense, their running game, their passing game. They're like, all right, here we go. We want to run, wide zone handoff, 18-19 handoff. Okay, tell me what you would do against a 2-eye, a 2 technique, a 3 technique, a 4 technique, a 4-eye technique. How would you operate the bubble? What do you do as a center? What you like your combinations and all that kind of stuff. So we went through every scenario that you would face as an offensive lineman versus every defense, and just footwork, hand placement, hat placement, and what I'm thinking on every block. And so we did that through their whole running game and through their whole pass protection game, and just worked through every particular scenario. And it was fascinating. At the end of the day, I probably got them to change 7 techniques that they were coaching, 7 or 8 techniques that they've been coaching over the last however many years. Hopefully they play well tonight because, then I can here's the deal. If they play well tonight, I want you to talk about this. If they play like crap up front tonight, then disregard this statement because, those sons of bitches just wouldn't listen to me. That's what we're going with.
Drew Brees just gets pummeled in the first quarter.
Right.
Boom, 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 boom. That's incredible. Who's in the room? Like Sean, everybody's in the room with you there?
Offensive coordinator to a degree. He kind of popped in and out. The O-line coach, the assistant O-line coach, the tight end coach. Yeah, there was,
That's awesome.
We just kind of went through it. Yeah, it was really, it's one of the coolest things I've gotten to do because I've always had kind of this itch, and I've had a lot of opportunities to leave TV and go coach. But frankly, I just don't want to take a pay cut is my thing. I know, Pat, I really, making it has never been a problem for me. It's retaining it that I've had a tough time. The retaining part of it is the tough part.
Yeah, you can get the money. You just can't keep the money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is, I enjoy life as well. I understand what you're saying. I have a bunch of my boys here. They probably have some questions. You mind if they ask you a couple questions?
No, please, by all means.
Good man.
Mark, you're a giant man who's very good looking.
Yep.
True. That's all true. Keep going.
Hollywood offers. Have you been in movies? Do you get a lot of them?
I've been in one movie. I'm surprised you haven't seen it. The remake of Red Dawn, where I was Coach Dolan, and I'm surprised they haven't made Red Dawn 3: The Rise of Coach Dolan. I'm waiting for the script. But it has not come my way. It turns out. I mean, I'm not really a good actor. I've gotten opportunities to do it because I'm exactly what you said. I'm big and I am incredibly handsome, and so that's why I've gotten the opportunities. But yeah, I'm not what you would call good at acting. Yeah, that's not really what I do.
You were on soap operas, weren't you? On soap operas, you were on Ballers.
I was on. Well, here's the soap opera deal, Pat. Okay, so I was on The Guiding Light. I was on The Guiding Light for 2 seasons. I had a recurring role for 2 seasons. Now listen to the wait. The Guiding Light started on radio. Then it transferred to television. That damn show was on for 72 years. It took me 2 seasons of recurring roles to get it knocked off air permanently. I was there for 2 seasons. I did 15 shows, and that shit got canceled. Like, how good am I? I'm probably right now, like, I'm on a hit list of all the people that were on there for 20 years. Like, I will probably be murdered because of my time spent on The Guiding Light. There's so many people angry with me right now. Like, that some bitch got the gravy train killed right there.
Oh, my God. The thought of you after the show gets canceled laying down at night in bed, honey, you think that's because of fucking me? It's a hilarious thought. Thank you so much. This next guy is an Italian guy, Degenerate Diggs.
Mr. Stink, Pat put out a funny video yesterday about this. I want to know if you saw that, but also your thoughts on Sweezy sacking Kyler Murray yesterday.
Oh, please.
Dude, it's great, right? It was just awesome. I'm sitting there calling. I go, I've never seen that. He tried to leap over. First off, Sweezy is 6'5", 313, and he's just a strand of muscle, right? I mean, it's just like that guy doesn't have hamstrings; he has ham cords. That's how thick he is. And he jumped. He must have gotten out. He must have gotten about 4 inches off the ground, and he still almost. He only got 4 inches. He almost cleared. That's how short. I didn't even think about it. That's how short that little dude is, right? Kyler Murray. It was great. 4-inch vertical almost cleared his whole head.
You're not looking at it like you're not turning around at like Tom Brady and thinking you can jump over him.
No.
You know what I mean? You're not turning around like you see.
Right.
In Sweezy's head, there was a real thought like, I can get up over that. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, he was like,
what was the Inspector Gadget? He's like, go, Gadget Lane! Just leaping right over him.
That would have been awesome. You said you had a follow up?
No.
That's awesome. Next guy's name's Frank. Just got a haircut, shaved his beard. All pretty happy about it.
Just trying to look as handsome as Mr. Schlereth here. Mark, you mentioned your time on The Guiding Light. You didn't mention your character's name, Detective Rock Hoover. You also were on Ballers. Did you meet The Rock? Was the character inspired by The Rock? Are you buddies with The Rock?
Yeah. Yes, I did meet The Rock. I am buddies with The Rock. I'll tell you a great story. I used to show up to the Broncos training facility every day. I was always the first guy in the facility when I played. Like 5 a.m. I'd walk in because I had about 2.5 hours of rehab before I started watching film. Not drug rehab, injury rehab. So I would always, the first thing I would always do is I'd go get a cup of coffee in the training room. And as I poured my cup of coffee, I always read this plaque that hung on the wall. And this plaque is an anonymous quote. I read it every day. And it says this: you can easily judge the character of a man by how he treats those who can do nothing for him. And I've always aspired to be that person. I've always wanted to care for people. I always wanted to love people. I always want to have time for people. I just have always been kind of wired that way. And it was something that was always really important to me and still is to this day. As I travel around this great country of ours and I get an opportunity to call games, talk about football, and a lot of people have football questions, and I love to sit and talk with people. I'm on the set with The Rock, and I've met him, and he's gracious, and he knows everybody's name and the cameraman and everybody behind the scenes. And we're filming this scene, and we've got this kid that runs a 40 on the beach, and then he, gets excited because he runs a great time, and he's running around, and he's doing backflips off the boat, and he runs up this tree and does a backflip off this palm tree, right? And we're all standing around watching this kind of transpires. This stunt man is doing all this stuff, and we're fascinated because he's just doing all kinds of, just all kinds of ridiculous looking stunts. And all of a sudden, Dwayne comes bebopping down the way. He's getting ready to shoot, and he's got his calls in 5 minutes. So he's bebopping down there. We're all gathered around watching this. He watches this kid do a couple of backflips and do all this stuff. And he stops the whole production, walks up and says, "Hey, man, I'm Dwayne Johnson." And the kid's like, "Yeah, I know who you are." He goes, "Tell me about yourself. What's your name? How'd you get into this?" And he spends like 10 minutes talking to this kid. "Thanks for being here, man. This is fascinating. Unbelievable." And meanwhile, I'm sitting there going, I watched the kid warm up for 15 minutes. I didn't say shit, I was like, and I'm like, here's Dwayne Johnson genuinely connecting with this individual. And that kid will carry that story for the rest of his life. You're right. And I'm like, you could have, not that I'm Dwayne, but you should have interacted. You should have asked, you should have done those things. That's who he is. He is one of the most gracious, kindest individuals, and he's just a wonderful human being, man. He's one of the nicest people on earth.
I'm happy to hear that, by the way. I'm very happy to hear that because he's the biggest star on the planet. I mean, his own production company, I think they just netted $500 million off of Hobbs and Shaw worldwide, off a movie he created and the whole thing. He made $500 million in like 4 weeks. And he's still great. That's great to hear because he's the biggest star on planet Earth right now. And he is also a very large, attractive man, much like yourself.
It's a good point. Although he doesn't have this head of lettuce, because look at this thing right here. I mean, you're either born with this or you're not. Like, there ain't nothing you can do, right? I mean, you talk about touched by the hand of God. Look at it. I mean, right? Come on.
Once again, the Pope is very thankful. Or not. I don't know. You do look great, Mark. Honestly.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And you know what? And by the way, I am freaking yoked. I mean, I am as strong.
Let's go.
As the day is long. I tell you, the other day, I guarantee you, the other day I laid down on a bench press, 225, did it 36 reps, and just racked it, and was like, what else am I going to do for the rest of the day? Like, I walk up to people who are working out. They got like 185 on them and go, "Hey, when you're done fucking around, can I have that bench?" Right? Like, seriously, what are you doing here? You're wasting my time. I'm thinking about opening a gym, Pat. Here's my concept. My gym is going to be called Uppers. That's it, Uppers. And people are going to come in and go, I'm going to go like, "Hey, here. Over there's a bench press. There's a bench press. There's a bench press over there. There you can see another bench press. There's an incline press." And somebody's going to go, "Hey, what about a squat rack?" I'm going to go, "Get the hell out of my gym. This is Uppers. Can you not read? We don't do legs here."
Oh, my God. Absolute meathead. Mark, are you just going into public gyms over there in Denver and just punking these little kids that are high off their tunes in Denver, Colorado?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just roll in there and just throw up ridiculous amounts of weight, just walk out like it's not like, hey, just something I do on the weekends, boys. That's it. How often are you lifting? I go, I don't know, once a week, maybe never. It doesn't matter. I'm just naturally built like this. Just ruin it. I like to ruin kids' dreams. Like, I just ruin their, like, they walk in, they're really working hard on something. I just walk in and rep it like 17 times. I'm like, oh, that's easy. Like, one of the things I love to do is go, "Hey, can I work in with you? What are you doing?" They're like, "Oh man, I'm doing this bench." And then they're struggling for 2 reps, and I do it 20 times. They go, "That's too easy. I'm gonna go," and I just leave. Just absolutely ruin them. "Oh, yeah. How old are you?" "Oh, I'm 53. How old are you?" 20. "Oh, you're a weak little son of a bitch." And then I just walk away. It's the greatest thing ever.
Oh my God, such an offensive lineman. Such an offensive lineman. That is it. I wish I would be in one of those gyms one day. Hey, you should film yourself doing that. The internet would enjoy it. Get like a candid shot from across the gym. Have you have a lapel on, walk up to a group of blurred faces. What are you boys doing today? Bench? Oh, can I work with you guys? "Oh, yeah, sure, man. Anything you want, you old ass dude?" And then he just walks in there. "All right, I'm done, boys. You should quit." What a moment. Good for you, Mark. Anything from the back room there, Todd?
Yeah, Mark, I'm just curious, how is the chili business going, and what's your involvement in the creation process of that?
Great question.
That is a great question. The chili business is good, and it's for sale. If you'd like to buy it. So It's we're really killing it. Listen, had I known then what I know now, I would have found something else to invest my money in. Like I said, I can make it. I just can't really retain it. It's been great, man. It's been it's been a 11-year 11-year labor of love.
Of course.
And one of these days, I think I'm going to make a profit. But I don't see that day anytime in the near future. So we just continue to grind. I had nothing to do with the recipe. Here's the deal. Some guy I met brought it to me. So my last year in Denver, I hurt my knee on the very first day of training camp, had to have knee surgery. Now, I'm a lawn freak. I'm always in my lawn. I have no hobbies. I have 0 hobbies. All I do is mow my lawn. I mow it 3 times a week. I am a freak show.
Such a classic old man right there.
Right. No, here's the deal. My lawn is better than yours, and I'm going to let you know as you're driving by. Like, I'm just going to let you know that I've got a better lawn than you. Like, I had a dude swing by my house the other day. He rolls down the passenger side window, and I've never met him. I take my little iPod headphones out, whatever, and I'm like, yeah. And he goes, hey, man, stop it. And I'm like, what do you mean stop it? He goes, stop it. I'm sorry, I don't understand. He goes, just stop it. He goes, every day I have to listen to my wife bitch about Mr. Schlereth travels more than you, and his lawn always looks bad. You make every guy in the neighborhood look bad. And then he just took off. I don't even know who the guy is. And it was like one of the proudest moments of my, it's one of the proudest moments of my just like manhood, right? Like, yeah, my lawn is kicking your lawn's ass. It is, yeah. And I'm not afraid to show it. I'm not afraid to tell you about it. So that's the only real hobby I have. So this dude had a landscaping company. I was playing. I couldn't take care of my lawn because I had knee surgery and I was on crutches for 10 days. They were like non-weight bearing for 10 days. And so he swung by and he mowed the lawn. So I found him in the neighborhood because I lived in a neighborhood that had 5 or 6 players and a couple coaches lived in it. And I find him and I thank him, and he says to me, this is God's honest truth, I'm from Alaska. He goes, hey man, I make the world's greatest green chili. I'd like to bring you some. And I was like, sure, you're going to bring me food? Great. I didn't even know what green chili was. I didn't even know. So he brings it by. I devour it because I'm 300 pounds. I'm like, this is great. And, we started this relationship, and the next thing I know, we're in business together. And, like, I have no idea how to make green chili. I just know it's delicious. That's like, I'm going to eat. So that's how we started the business.
Hey, that was a good plug, though. Before it goes out of business or gets sold, go and have the greatest green chili on planet Earth. You're from Alaska. How does that happen? I didn't know anybody who's from Alaska left Alaska. I assumed if you're from Alaska, you stay in Alaska, you do Alaska things. You have your own little plane, you fly out in the middle of nowhere, maybe you get on one of them like crab boats where they're like the people almost die on Discovery Channel, and you just live out in this beautiful place that has the back door of Russia. I honestly thought that was the case. There's not a lot of people coming out of Alaska, I don't think.
No, there's not. But my dad grew up 112th and Broadway. He grew up in New York City. So we lived in Alaska, but we didn't do a lot of Alaska things. Like, I don't hunt. I've never owned a gun. I don't like to fish. I like to catch. Like, there's a big difference to me, right? Some people will be out there all day. Like, they'll be out there all day on the boat with the line bobbing, and they'll be like, what a day. Did you catch anything? No, but man, we saw some fish. I'm like, are you kidding me? I got about a 6-minute window. If I'm not catching something within 6 minutes, I'm like, I'm out of here. These damn fish are I'm in the dumbest place in the world, right? I don't have time to suffer fish. You either jump on my line or I'm out of here. That's my rule with fishing. I want to catch. I'll just go like, screw it. Like, are you gonna go fishing today? Yeah, I'm going fishing. I'm gonna go Safeway. Like, I'll go, or Costco. Like, that's where I'm gonna be today because I know I'm gonna catch something there.
I'm the same way. I don't think I could fish if I had to right now. This next one is a beautiful mind, Zito.
Mr. Stink, I'm a big in the trenches guy. Who's your favorite lineman right now in the league right now?
Oh, Quentin Nelson. Come on.
He's so good, isn't he?
How do you, Quentin Nelson, how do you not like a guy that they call Earl Grey? I mean, this dude is just disrespectful block after disrespectful block, and then just walking his nethers right across your face mask, right? Like, just, how do my nuts smell? Like, Like I just, oh my god! Like seriously, when I was watching, I've never watched a dude on film. Like I literally would walk into my study, put a tie on the door, and go, "Honey, don't come in here. I'm going to watch Quentin Nelson." He was like, I'm just telling you, man. His college film was like nothing I'd ever seen before. I'm like, holy Moses! Just give me some privacy. Lock the door. Not a tie on the knob. I mean, it's Quentin Nelson time, baby.
He's got a handlebar mustache too now, just doing it even more so for you. I bet.
He's just phenomenal. It is like music. It's like a sweet symphony.
He had another night block yesterday when the DN was going up against a tackle.
Yeah, I saw
and then the DN tried spinning inside, and Quentin was just waiting for him there.
Oh, just watching the play?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely just rolling over, dude, and just like standing over and going, "Do you even lift, bro? Do you even lift?" You know, I mean,
he sounds like you.
Oh man,
he sounds like you. Is that how he play? Is that how you played? By the way, were you just a dog out there like you are to these little twerps in the gym?
No. I'm more like who Horton hears a who. You know, I'm just kind of scared of my own shadow. I like.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I never said. I mean, I never said two words. I really didn't. But I will tell you, my first game, my first and only fight. I've never been in a fight in my entire life. And my first game in the NFL was in Philadelphia. It was against the Eagles in the vet. They were the number one defense in football, and they had Reggie White. They had Clyde Simmons. They had Jerome Brown, Mike Pitts. Byron Evans. I mean, they were loaded. Loaded. And here's this little 10th rounder out of Idaho that's going to start a game in the middle of the season in the vet, and they thought they were going to feast. And I was playing against first round draft choice Mike Pitts out of Alabama. And I was opening a can of whoop ass on this dude. He didn't know what he was in for, right? And my whole thought process was, I may not be good enough to play, but nobody's going to punk me. I am not getting punked today. That was my only goal. I may not be that good, but you're not going to punk me today. And so I'm opening this can of whoop ass, and I don't know, it's probably second quarter maybe. He's just frustrated because I am tearing him up. And he took a swing at me, and I guarantee you, I went double fist punch, double hand underneath the face mask. Because you can't, if you hit somebody in the helmet,
Miles Jack.
Good. I tried to break his freaking jaw. I literally tried to break his jaw. I was like, yeah! And I mean, flags, I'm getting peppered with flags. There's a whole slew of people. I was like, there's one thing that's not going to happen today. I'm going to get my ass whipped today, but I'm not getting punked. Because I knew, like I said, a 10th rounder out of Idaho. Come on. I mean, I knew they were going. I knew that was going to be something that I had to prove to the rest of the NFL that I belong. So that's the first game, and that's the only fight I've ever been in.
Oh, dude.
It's incredible.
Hey, you're in for a long day with this Schlereth kid. Last week, his first ever game, he did a double uppercut on a guy. Did you see Miles Jack just got paid like $57 million first game after getting paid in the first half? Decides to swing on, I forget who it was. And then when he was getting police escorted out of the stadium, he fought it a couple of times. It was like when my mom had to drag me out of somewhere, and I didn't want, when I was a little kid. That's what it looked like. But he was holding his hand in an interesting fashion. He took a shot at the helmet, directly at the helmet, which I think you nailed it there. You never want to punch a helmet. He did that, and then he was holding it interesting. I wonder if he broke anything. That seems like a dumb decision, but I'm not in the heat of the battle as much to know the right answer there.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever a good decision to hit, a really hard piece of plastic with your fist. That's probably not going to end well for you.
Foxy, you got anything for Mr. Schlereth?
Yeah, Mark, I'll keep it simple. Who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
Patriots. I mean, how do you bet against the Patriots? They're just
stupid.
First off, Tom Brady might not be from this planet. He might be an alien. He may be, and they're just coached better than everybody else. I like the Saints and I like the Patriots. I think after the last 2 years, the way the season has ended for New Orleans, don't you feel like it's just they're like karma like, all right, we feel bad about what we did to them the last 2 years. Come on, we got to let them in. I feel that way, but New England is just the most disciplined football team on planet Earth, and they just execute. If you're going to beat them, you have to beat them from an execution standpoint. You have to be willing to go toe-to-toe with them and not make a mistake, and it's just incredibly hard to do, and they have the ability to do it.
Tom Brady and Julian Edelman are 40-0 together against AFC teams if they're playing together. Tom Brady and Julian Edelman, 40-0 against AFC teams.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's a real stat. It sounds like a fake one, but somebody told me that. That seems like they are stats.
Hey, if it was on the internet, it's got to be true, Pat.
I agree completely. You know what you said about karma there for the Saints after the Minneapolis miracle and then the pass interference thing? Everybody probably assumed that about the Buffalo Bills, too, back in there in the 90s or whatever. They never got it. The Four Falls of Buffalo or whatever. That's
right.
Yeah, they deserved it, too. I think Jim Kelly deserved it, and Buffalo Bills deserved a little something then. I hope something happens good for Drew Brees, though. Those have to be tough off seasons, man. Thinking about that all off season.
Right, the way it ended for 2 off seasons in a row. I mean, at least the Bills got to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's obviously getting trounced 3 times in a row. The one game was close, but they missed it wide right. But the other ones were. Listen, man. Thank you, Bills. I was one of the guys that whipped your ass Super Bowl. So I'm a big Bills fan, right? It's like I'm a big. I've got a funny Raiders story for you because I hate Raiders with the white hot intensity of 1,000 suns. So Raiders last time they were in the Super Bowl, which was before most of your cast was born. I was there. So I'm out. It was in San Diego. Here's the other thing about San Diego. Now that the Chargers have moved to LA, do you find yourself not saying San Diego? Like I don't ever say. I feel like it's like a dirty word, like San Diego. I'm like, hey, who are the Rockies playing? They're playing the Padres. I won't even go. We've ruined one of the greatest cities in America because I'm afraid I always have to think before I even say it because I'm thinking, wait a minute, am I allowed to say San Diego in this context or not? Because you say it on a broadcast and everybody goes, oh, the LA Chargers now. And you're like, oh, God, San Diego, I forgot, sorry. So anyhow, I'm in San Diego for the Super Bowl, and I'm out in the outskirts right at this event, and I got a 4 o'clock hit on SportsCenter. This is back in my ESPN days. So I got to get out. And so I call a cab, and it's like an hour and a half, and I'm down in the gas lamp district of San Diego. So I'm standing there. All of a sudden, this Suburban pulls up, and I was like, there's 6 dudes all dressed in Raider gear. And I go, hey, you guys going down to the gas lamp district? And they go, yeah, as a matter of fact, we are. I go, hey, do you think I'd jump in the Suburban with you guys? Jeez. And they're like, yeah, no problem. Jump in. So I'm in the Suburban. These guys are all decked out in Raiders jerseys, right? And I'm just sitting there minding my business. And one dude I'm on the passenger side window in the back seat, and there's another dude on the driver's side window, and there's a guy between us, right? And the dude on the driver's side window keeps leaning over and kind of looking, right? And it's getting uncomfortable. And we're on the freeway. It's stop and go. We're barely creeping, right? And this guy keeps looking, and finally goes, I know who you are. And I go, what? He goes, you're that dude that hates the Raiders. I go, what are you talking about? Now everybody in the car is looking. The driver, because we're stopped on the freeway, he's looking. Everybody's looking, right? And they're all like, yeah. He goes, you're the dude that hates the Raiders. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you're the dude that hates the Raiders that's on ESPN. And I go, no, you got me all wrong. He go, no, that's you. And I'm thinking, this is probably not going to end well, right? He's like, that's you. You're that guy. And I go, I don't hate the Raiders. I go, you have me completely wrong. And he goes, yeah, you're always dog cussing our team. You're always saying crap about our team. You're that dude. And I go, nope. I go, I am the guy that played for the Broncos. And I go, but you have me all wrong. I love the Raiders. No, you're always dogging us. I go, no, I love you guys. You know why? I go, because in my 6 years in Denver, I was 11-1 against your punk ass. And the car goes, it got complete silence. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm either going to get taken out of this car and beat to death, or these guys are going to and they just started breaking out howling. And we became like best buddies. I mean, there's one guy I still keep in contact with. It's unbelievable, right?
You're such an alpha. I can't fathom just being around you on a daily basis. You're such a hilarious human. This last guy's from Canada. His name's Gumpy.
I'm just curious of what you thought of Kyler Murray yesterday and how you think he's going to be this year.
Here's the deal, which is interesting. And I said this on the broadcast, and it's kind of sometimes things just flow out of my mouth, and after they fall out of my mouth, I'm like, maybe not a great decision on my part. So, at like midway through the third quarter, they had 3 first downs. The Arizona Cardinals did, and Kyler Murray was awful. I mean, he's missing throws. He's inaccurate. It was awful. And it just fell out of my mouth. I said, to call this offense garbage would be an insult to garbage. Like, that's how bad they've been. Which I don't know. I might get a phone call from the principal's office. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It's just how I felt at the time. So I said it, right? And so I'm texting with their GM today. So I was like, oh, shoot, here's their GM texting me like I'm going to get, an earful, right? Yeah. But I was, it was a great kind of back and forth. But I said, here's the deal. If I ever played as poorly as he played early, I go, there was no recovering. Now I'm going to battle my ass off and I'm going to fight. I'll turn it into a street fight. It's not going to be pretty, but I'm not going to flip the switch and all of a sudden play great. This kid played as poorly as you can possibly play for 3 quarters, and then flipped the switch and was magnificent. Like the strength mentally to be able to do. I'm telling you, I'm not strong enough mentally to do that. And to do that and to not get down on yourself and to continue to compete and then all of a sudden find your rhythm and groove and to be able to be that good. That's a talent that very few possess, and so I have nothing but the respect for the poise and the moxie that kid showed.
Yeah, that would be tough, and just and then once you get hot though, once he got hot, they got hot there for a little bit, and then obviously they tied, no winners, which brings us right back to the top. Ties are stupid, but I'll tell you what, there will be no tie for the greatest first podcast guest since our move to Westwood One. Hey, Stink, you were absolutely incredible today. I learned so much. I learned that the chili business might not be the best investment. Might be a little bit of patient. I learned that you don't like to fish. You like to catch. And I learned so many other things today about the offensive line. And, Mark, man, I just became a bigger fan of you somehow, which I didn't think was possible. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise. And buy some chili, too. Let's help the guy out a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, 3-time Super Bowl champion, incredible mentor, consultant to the New Orleans Saints, unless they suck. Mark Schlereth.
That's my pleasure, brother. Thank you, man.